Hey guys, so I will not be screaming today because I am in the Kappa house and I'm terrified of people hearing me do this, even though I post the videos online for everyone to see. Anyway, terrified. Today I want to talk about why I declined my spot in the class of 2020 at an Ivy League school and what my life is like at a state school. So it is college decision time. I remember my senior year around the end of February, early March was when I got most of my college decisions back, and that was a really exciting but also a very scary time. I know that applying to difficult schools is like a super difficult process. If you've never had that experience, you have the common application, which is essays, and then specific schools have different short answer questions, maybe more essays, and then you have to have letters of recommendation, your resume, etc. There's a lot of pieces that go together into applying to an Ivy League, a baby Ivy, or just like an elevated school. And so you put a lot of yourself into those applications, and then when you get them back, getting an acceptance, a wait list, or a decline, it all kind of can play into how you view yourself right in that moment. So that was definitely an experience. For those of you who don't know, I applied to 8 schools, so I will go ahead and list them if I can remember. I applied to Harvard, Yale, the University of Pennsylvania, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago, Washington University in St. Louis, Rice in Texas, and K-State. That was my backup plan. So I received 2 rejection letters, one from Yale and one from Rice. I was waitlisted at a couple schools. I was accepted into a 4-year biochemical master's program where I would be getting my master's in biochemistry in 4 years at the University of Pennsylvania in a research program. But when we got our financial aid package back, it wasn't enough that I could justify the cost of going to an Ivy League school. So the deciding factor for me, unfortunately, was finances. I would have been about $300,000 in debt before I went to med school, just after undergrad. So we decided that it would be best if I went to a state school where I had my education paid for. So I know that's a difficult decision, especially if you've worked really hard on those applications, because they take a really, really long time. So obviously declining my spot in the 2020 class at University of Pennsylvania was not an easy decision. It was not something that I wanted to do. I very well could have taken out $300,000 in a loan and dealt with that. That was a very difficult choice to make. And so my first year at K-State, which is where I go now, I did not want to be here because I wanted to be at the University of Pennsylvania. I knew that I had earned that, and I felt like I belonged somewhere else, and that the people that I was surrounded with here were not the people that I wanted to be around, because there was something else out there for me. If you share that with people, especially at K-State, we have this thing where we say we're a family, and like the K-State family culture is really strong here. Family expressing that you don't feel like you're a part of that family is not something that a lot of people want to hear. Definitely during the first year there was not a ton of support for people who didn't want to be here. I shared it with a couple of my friends, and I don't think that it was intentional, but there was a lot of like, you think you're better than this, etc. So it wasn't the best time of my life. So some advantages of being at a small school or not at an Ivy League or baby Ivy is that the teachers are going to recognize that. You not being able to afford going to a school does not take from your intelligence or take from your drive or your hard work. So teachers are still going to notice that, and because this school may have a higher acceptance rate, you will stand out a little bit, and that sounds bad, but you should take advantage of that opportunity. So less prestigious schools also have a lot of room for improvement, so that's where students who belong at Ivy League schools can really flourish. Some things that I learned through the process of declining my spot at UPenn and accepting a spot at Kansas State University was that I had a lot of my worth in what the name on my degree was. I was putting a lot of like who I was and what I was worth on where I was getting my degree from, rather than what kind of things I was learning, what kind of effort was I putting in, etc. I still don't know like what my purpose here is. I don't know why exactly I was placed at Kansas State University, because I know there's a plan. There's got to be some kind of plan. So here are some things that you can do to make your life a little less terrible. I would first recommend getting involved in clubs, organizations, take advantage of your honors program. You can get involved in a research lab whatever you want to do. I did join the rowing team. I was on the rowing team for like 2.5 months. I was a collegiate athlete, for those of you who don't know. Surprise. Second thing you can do is make some friends, talk to people. This was a very humbling experience for sure. I felt very prestigious that I was accepted into an Ivy League school and that I was going to an Ivy League school, and I was kind of like flouncing that a little bit because it's an achievement. You don't have to go to an Ivy League school to be surrounded by really smart people. I think something that I've learned through this experience is that everybody has something that's very interesting about them, and you can learn that through talking to them. But if you close yourself off because you think that you're better than this, or if your head is in a different place because you feel like you should be somewhere else, you're gonna miss those opportunities. My third and final tip is to talk to friends about it. I know that I talked to a lot of people about it. I did go to counseling for this because it was ruining my life a little bit. Not everybody's going to be supportive of it. A lot of people don't know how to handle it, especially if there's a lot of pride at your school. So talk to somebody that you trust. I know I had a college coach, shout out to Emily and Sam for being great and supportive. I definitely shared with both of them that I didn't want to be here very much, and instead of telling me that I should get over it, they were supportive and they gave me resources. So surround yourself with people who can support you and lift you up. I know this sounds like super traumatic for people who haven't gone through this. A lot of people work all 4 years of high school, maybe even through middle school, to build up their resume and their academic record so that they can get into those schools. It sounds dramatic, but it actually is a really hard experience to go through. Your dream dies a little bit. I don't think a lot of people can grasp that because they haven't gone through it, but I'm here with you. Something that I really liked about being at a state school is that you have the opportunity to encourage and inspire other people. Because you are an outstanding student, you get to be a role model for people, and that is a really big responsibility, but it's a really cool responsibility. Oh, right. So that is all I have for you. I just wanted to share that story because I know there's a lot of people who don't know that about me. There's also, I do have a hate Twitter that does not know this full story and may reconsider their ways. Probably not, but they might if they want to watch it. But anyway, so I hope that this was encouraging to you. I deeply apologize if this is something that you're currently going through. Just keep pushing through. Go see a counselor if you need to. This is something that you can talk to a counselor about, especially at a college campus. This is very common where people don't feel like they belong. So you can reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about it, talk to you more about my experience. I hope you have a great week. I will bring you something more informative next week. But in the meantime, stay lovely, folks. Bye! Let's go. Tell me about your life in the comments. I guess. Peace out, Girl Scouts.